Hi guys, I am here today with my Reading Rush wrap-up. I had 5 books on my TBR for the Reading Rush and I finished 4, so pretty good. They were small books, but still, I read 4 books. The first book that I read completed the challenge of read a book and watch the movie adaptation, and I read Matilda by Roald Dahl, and I absolutely loved it. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. This was my 3rd Roald Dahl book and my 2nd Roald Dahl book as an adult. I read James and the Giant Peach when I was in grade 5, and I remember really liking it and thinking it was a lot of fun. But I read the BFG a few years ago, and then I read Matilda, and I have this like whole different appreciation for Roald Dahl books. I feel like Roald Dahl wrote these books knowing that the kids were probably going to be reading them with their parents, because the humor in it is so ridiculous and smart that I feel like kids would still find them fun, but only adults would truly appreciate and truly really find a lot of the humor really funny. So I loved this. I adored it so much, and I really want to read more Roald Dahl books. And if you want to know what I thought about the movie, I obviously watched it a million times when I was a kid, but I haven't seen it in a really long time, so it was really interesting to watch it after reading the book. The movie was very close to the book, except for the fact that the book takes place in England, and the movie takes place in the States. There's a few scenes in the book that aren't in the movie, and there's a few scenes in the movie that aren't in the book, and there's something towards the end that's a little bit different. But other than that, they did a really good job, I think, turning the book into the movie. They followed the story really closely, and I think they just did a great job. I thought it was a really good adaptation. The second book that I read completed the challenges of read a book with 5 or more words in the title and read a book in the same spot the whole time. And I read Sideways Stories from Wayside School by Lewis Sacker, and I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. I read it keeping in mind that it's a book for children. So it was a lot of fun, and it was very cute, and what I liked about it was how many chapters there were, and that each chapter is actually about each student in the class that the story follows, which was a lot of fun. And I think because there's a lot of chapters and each one is only about 2 or 3 pages, I feel like it's a really easy like bedtime book to read with kids, or to even have the kids read on their own if you wanted. I just feel like it makes it really easy to read one chapter at a time. It's not too daunting, and each story is almost like its own story, like a TV show. It's like a new episode. So there's still some things that carry from chapter to chapter, but mostly they're all new stories. So I really liked it. I thought it was a lot of fun, and it was very cute. The next book that I read completed the challenge of read a book with a non-human main character, and I chose Winnie the Pooh by A.A. Milne. And if you saw my TBR video, you would have seen that I was going to read The House at Pooh Corner, because that was the only Winnie the Pooh book that I had. But after filming my TBR and before starting the Reading Rush, I actually ended up coming across this book at a bargain bookstore when I was visiting my friend in Toronto. So I got this gorgeous copy for $8, so it's got these nice end pages, and it's got beautiful illustrations, and I gave this 5 out of 5 stars. It was super sweet and super cute and super silly, and I just loved. Also, there was like a big focus on friendship and supporting your friends and being there for your friends, and one of my favorite stories was actually the one about Eeyore's birthday, and it was very cute. And the only thing that I didn't like about it, which is no fault of the author, is that Tigger is actually not in this one. So the only reason that's something that I guess I can say disappointed me, but that can't change the rating of the book, is because if I read this book when it came out, I wouldn't have known who Tigger was. Tigger wasn't invented yet. But because I know of all the Winnie the Pooh stories, and I watched all the New Adventures of Winnie the Pooh, the cartoon on TV, when I was little, and the Tigger movie and all that kind of stuff, Tigger's my favorite. So it was a little sad. I hope he's in The House at Pooh Corner, because I would like to read that soon. But I adored this. And the last book that I read for the Reading Rush completed the challenge of reading an author's first book, and I chose Tithe by Holly Black, which was actually a reread for me. Although it was kind of like a first read, because I read this in high school, which was like too long ago. I read this basically when it first came out. Like, it came out in hardcover first, so I guess the book had been out for a year, probably. So this had just come out in paperback. I believe the second book had just come out when I read this. And I remember really liking it, and I remembered one scene from it. That was it. So it was basically like reading it for the first time, and I really enjoyed it. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I thought it was a lot of fun. There were a few flaws that I didn't really like, mostly concerning like consent and stuff like that, but for the most part, I really liked it, and I thought it was just good fun. The other thing that I thought was really funny and interesting about it is that it's written in 2002, and I'm pretty sure I read it in 2003. I think I was in grade 11 when I read it, and it has very, very, very early 2000s vibes. Like, I don't know how else to explain it except for like when you watch a movie or a TV show that was made in the early 2000s and you can just tell by the way it's edited and the way it's acted and the type of music that's in it that it just, you can really, really tell what year it's from. And that's what this book did for me, from the writing style to the dialogue, even to the way the world was explained. It just felt very much like I was in high school and it was 2002 and I was reading it. So I'm not sure if part of that was because I did read it in 2002 or 2003 and it was kind of just bringing back those like vibes for me because that's when I read it for the first time, or if the writing style can actually do that. But it did, and I kind of liked it. I would like to continue on with the trilogy, which was the reason why I picked this as this challenge book, because I never wanted to continue with the trilogy when I found out they followed different people, because I was a different kind of reader in high school and I thought that was stupid. And I don't think that's stupid anymore. I would like to continue, and I'm excited to see what kind of characters it follows in the second book, and I'm excited to see if the characters in this show up in the second book. So those are the books that I read. It was 800 and something pages. I don't remember. It's not that important, but it was more pages than I would normally read in a week. It knocked some books off of my books I haven't read yet shelf. Overall, I would call this an accomplishment.